All right, let's get our Facebook friends in here. Oh, man. It's cold again. 1 and 2. We got the coffee up. Ceremonious sip. All right. Welcome in. It is November 22nd, 2022, Tuesday morning at 7:34 a.m. And that means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, for these morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, man, the USA could just couldn't close off those darn Welshmen.
Well, they got outplayed in the second half,
They
so
did.
I thought it was a fair result. They severely outplayed them in the first half, and then got whipped in the second half, and it ended up 1-1, even though it was a stupid penalty that gave up the goal. The balance of play, as you like to say, was about even. It was a pretty fair result. Disappointing, but a fair result.
Yep. Yeah, it's always kind of funny to see people around the World Cup time be like, man, if USA really focused on soccer, how good would they be? That would be cool to win the World Cup, but I think I'd rather have American football and basketball and stuff. So I'm not really too upset about it. But welcome in, everybody. Let's say hello to some people coming in here. And I guess a quick announcement as you all come in, and I'll announce it at the end as well. But Scott and I don't think are going to be here Thursday morning. We're going to take Thanksgiving off because it's Thanksgiving and we want to be with our families and loved ones. So this is considered the Thanksgiving show here. So we appreciate that. We got Jeremy Sean in the house kicking us off in this holiday spirit here, saying happy Thanksgiving Tuesday. Things I'm thankful for. Broncos for breakfast and Melvin Gordon getting shown the door. We're going to talk a little bit of Melvin Gordon today and his him being shown the door, I guess. We got Kevin Gray coming in saying morning Broncos country. Next, Scott, my guess is it's time to evaluate all the players for next year. I don't know why Hackett is still there hurting our Broncos. MHH for life, Denver Broncos for life. We got Blave Bliss in the house saying good morning, Nick, Scott, and Broncos country. Hope everyone has a good day. I hope you have a great day, Blave Bliss. I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. Sunny days, the thumbs up, the coffee. Oh, that's a sign.
Drink.
And the, yep, I went to college. And also we got GGG in the house. I don't recognize GGG coming in saying good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Ryan Slavic. I recognize Ryan. Good morning, everyone. Yes, coaching sucks. Yes, the line sucks. Wilson not playing well, but I do believe we need a star running back, another wide receiver, and defensive back help. Great running back free agents out there this year. We're going to get into some running back conversation. I've gone off the rails, I think. I think this team has broken me, so I'm actually about running back this offseason. Cristiano coming in. Good morning, guys. Finally some turnover so we can stop fumbling the dang ball. Is that a pun? It's getting the turnover pun in there. I appreciate it if so. Melvin Gordon is a late goner. Sadly, go Broncos. Fallen Sloth out there in Cincinnati. Hope you're doing well. Saying good morning, everyone. Always good to hear from Fallen Sloth. And I'm going to block this Adam guy because he's just...
No. This is okay. Adam's okay. This is just one of my favorites, though. The irony of these type of comments never cease to make me laugh. So, Adam, get to F offline. Nobody cares. Season is over. Thanks for coming in and contributing to the chat. Appreciate you being here and caring enough to show that you'll leave a comment. You rock. Irony, man.
Yeah.
Who cares? Well, you do. Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Nathaniel Kata coming in here saying, hola, happy holidays. Good to see you, Nathaniel. We got Ted Gonzalez coming in saying, no, so another depressing talk. Groundhog's Day, buddy, Ted. I don't know what to tell you, but only thing to stop attending games and get the owner's attention, Hackett needs to pack it. Hackett's going to be gone. Barring the most miraculous turnover of all time in a season, Hackett's going to be gone. So I don't think that's going to happen. Jeremy Sean saying penalty kicks awarded that aren't close to scoring chances are stupid. Worst part of international football.
Scott, I changed on this one, though. I have, Jeremy. Real quick on this. Since it is World Cup time, I'll spend 30 seconds on this. It's almost like a power play. You get it into that area. I used to think the punishment should fit the crime. And the punishment of a penalty kick against, again, like I'm dribbling away from the goal. It shouldn't. But the thing is you get it into that area in order to change how the defense plays you. That's the way it is. So they're not allowed to come in with tackles. They're not allowed to do those things. It's to open up the scoring chances in that area and to reduce those type of tackles, no matter if you're facing the goal or not. So I have come around on this. I have.
Yeah. And did want your block. We just typically don't tolerate trolls if you're not really bringing anything to the chat.
I think Adam's just mad. It's okay. Hey, that's why we're here, Adam. We can we can. We're not the football priests, but you know what? We get it.
Yeah.
We get it. And again, obviously, you care. You care, you wouldn't be here. We know that. So be nice. Happy Thanksgiving.
Choose kindness and choose compassion. We're all in the world of suck, unfortunately, with this team. James Hyatt joining us in the world of suck today. That's what, honestly, we should just change the podcast name to the world of suck. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Good to see you, James. We appreciate you. Jackie Graves coming in. Hackett needs to be fired, and so should Wilson. Hackett, you can move on from. Hackett, again, would be an absolute shock of all shocks if we didn't move on from him. Wilson, you're stuck with for the rest of the season and probably 2 more after that. So you're going to have to figure out how you can improve this team around him next year. If it is this bad again next season, we're talking top 10 draft pick quarterback in 2025, with Wilson being on the roster still, at some point probably turning over to that quarterback, and then moving on from Wilson. So that's the darkest timeline, probably, but it's definitely a possibility at this point. It's far more likely with each passing week, unfortunately, but we got a long way to go to see if we're in that reality. Travis Patton coming in with the support on Facebook. Yeah, thank you, Travis. I'm recognizing this.
Stars says, good morning, Broncos country. Good morning to you, Travis.
Man, good morning to you, Travis. We got Glenn Hare. Morning, fellas. 4-0 when I attend games. Driving down from Michigan to North Carolina for the game this weekend. Let's hope that streak doesn't end. I think you got a chance. I'm going to pick against the Broncos because they've been rough, but you got a chance. This is going to be an interesting game. I think unfortunately, the Panthers are not a good team, especially on the perimeter and with the skill positions and the quarterback. But I think they have built a very solid infrastructure in the trenches. Their offensive line took it. I mean, they did pretty well against the Ravens last week. They did really well against the Panthers. I think this looks like a Broncos team that I don't know how many body blows they're going to hold and take against Donta Foreman in this game. And then the defensive line for the Panthers. I guess we got to do some little bit of Panther talk today, too. The defensive line for the Panthers, they have some studs on that team. Derek Brown, 7th overall pick a few years ago, has been ascending into probably one of the top 10 interior defensive linemen in football from University of Auburn. And also Auburn, is it AU? Excuse me, Scott. As soon as I said it, I was like, if this is wrong, Scott's going to have a visceral reaction. So is it just Auburn University?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, my apologies. The Tigers, even though they are the War Eagles. I don't understand that one. You'll have to tell me that one sometime.
They are not the War Eagles. They're the Tigers.
What's a War Eagle then?
It's a battle cry.
What does that have to do with the tiger?
There's 3 different legends about it that okay. that where the battle cry War Eagle came from back in the 1900s, early okay. Like 1900s when they started playing football in the 1800s at Auburn University, which it wasn't at the time. One of them is there was a bird circling around during a game, and they went on to when they started chanting War Eagle at the time because there was a hawk circling around during a game that they turned and won. There's another one that they had a Native American on the team who was just killing people, and they started chanting. That was War Eagle, his name. So there's lots of legends around where the battle cry War Eagle does come from.
Okay, well, I don't know my SEC legends so much. I'm very rooted in my Big Ten country. I've kind of started to appreciate some of the Pac-12. Honestly, the most fun conference this year has been the Big 12, but I digress. Good luck at the game, Glenn. Also, they have Brian Burns, who's the other edge rusher there, who is one of the. I mean, they asked. I think it was the Rams. The rumor was the Rams tried to trade 2 first-round picks to go get Brian Burns, and the Panthers turned it down. Now, granted, the caveat, it's a 2024 and 2025 first-round pick, not this year, because the Rams don't have their first-round pick this year. But still, interesting to watch. We got Greg Smith coming in, top of the morning to you. Appreciate you. We got a couple more people coming in here. Jamal Killings, good to see you. We got Kaylee on our guy. Yo, how you doing? Michael Ronquillo, good morning. Awesome to see you. CC coming in saying morning all. Drafting a running back is a must. Got to help Wilson's inability to run quick game consistently and effectively. A serious investment has to be made there. CC's been drinking my propaganda on Twitter, I think, because I am very much of an opinion of this. And I think this is going to be maybe a chance for some growth from this Broncos team down the stretch here. So with Melvin Gordon out, obviously, he's been fumbling the ball constantly. It seems like he's not been great in the locker room either. That's been true since he's been brought there. But he was your most effective rusher of the football with the ball in his hands post Javonte Williams injury. Now, there was some good from Latavius Murray, but really an inefficient runner, Latavius Murray. This Broncos team now, they're probably, would you say this is the worst running back room in football? Now, I mean, you have
I don't know enough of the rest
the rest of the league.
the rest of the league in order to make
Yeah.
that type of statement, but I know it's pretty ineffective. You know, Latavius Murray is a good gimmick type back. Hey, I want to push a pile forward and hold on to the ball, which by default makes him your best running back. But you know, you go and you make a trade for Chase Edmonds, and he lasts a quarter and a half. You know, in this last game, he had a half a quarter. You know, before he gets hurt. So again, you need to do an exorcism at Dove Valley, because the injuries, you guys show up, they get injured, and that's not just, you know, someone coming in. I mean, he wants to prove himself. You know, he has a lot to prove. That's not just somebody, man, I'm beat up, I'm tired of these guys. This is fresh blood coming in, new blood coming in, and going out with a high ankle sprain. And I think I showed you the picture. My son just got over one of those, and a high ankle sprain is about the same as a broken ankle. It's 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep. Might not ever see him play another snap in Denver is the reality of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Broncos do need to make an investment in the running back position. Mark Schrader coming in over on Facebook. Mark, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Great to see you. We got Travis in the house. Morning, MHH fam. Thank God for the show, because watching the Broncos try to play football makes my eyes bleed. It's been rough this season. It's been rough for a few seasons. MJ Thibodeau. Everybody has the donkeys for breakfast. Go Niners. Man, how did the Broncos beat the 49ers? I just keep coming back to that game. That 49ers team looks, obviously they're a team that's...
Everybody but the Niners.
Yeah. God, it's... How? It doesn't make any sense. Kevin 7 coming in saying, fellas, it's mock draft season. Top drafts needs our offensive line, running right guard, besides right guard, and then running back, wide receiver, maybe quarterback. I'm saying at least one quietly. Yeah, the Broncos need to take a quarterback day 3 probably in this draft. Brett Rippon is a free agent, and they probably need to lean into a lotto ticket kind of thing there. Clee says invest in the offensive line. That's first.
Let's stay on Kevin for just a second. Yeah. You know, he's coming in green.
Thank you, Kevin.
You know, right guard. Is that RG? Because I mean, you think left guard.
He said besides right guard. So Quinn Miners.
Line besides right guard. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Running back, yeah, you can hit. Wide receiver, yeah, you can hit, depending on who's coming back. I mean, if you want to, if someone came in and rejuvenated this group, down in my coffee here, rejuvenated this group, it's still a decent group that you've got under contract next year. If Tim Patrick comes back healthy, Sutton, Hamler, Judy, we've talked about all these guys. Hinton is a serviceable NFL wideout. Virgil's a good gimmick guy. You know, it's okay. It's not a huge, but it could be a need in a hurry, real hurry. What happens with Tim Patrick? Do you move Hamler and or Judy? So wide receiver could end up being a sneaky need on this team. I'd like to see Deshaun Williams as the first man off the bench. Any one of the 3 spots. I think he can play end or he can do a job at nose guard. So another big 300-pound lineman is serviceable. You've already proven you can't have enough edge rushers. So there's needs everywhere. This is going to be for the most part a best available that comes up, and you can make a case for just about any position, Kevin, with that first round draft pick. Now, if you're close, offensive tackle would probably be my number 1 there.
Yeah,
corner is a need as well. If you could get another lockdown guy, and Damari Mathis is nice. I'd sure like to have him as a slot type, possibly. You know, Kaywan's doing a really good job there. But Damari Mathis is physical, which we really like in the slot. But another lockdown guy opposite Pat Surtain, and defense is looking really good. But you're going to go best available there, and I can make an argument for just about any position. But for me, the highest priority would be offensive tackle. Appreciate you coming in green, Kevin. Thank you so much.
I think that the Broncos need to build the infrastructure on the offense, period. And obviously, if there's a best player on the defensive side of the ball, then you take the best player on the defensive side of the ball. And because it's about the next 10 years, not the 2023 season. But ideally, I think you're going to weight the board a little bit towards the offensive side of the ball. The only position on the offense where I'd be a little bit hesitant of investing in a first-round pick is the tight end position, just because I don't think there's an actually truly dynamic game breaker at the position. They're 2 first-round caliber tight ends, but
what are the odds that's going to be the best available at tight end? I mean, if he is,
I think it's possible, but I think your
if
ROI
and it will be close. I can go other directions.
Yes, I think that's the way to go. Like Michael Mayer at Notre Dame, He's fine, but he's not dynamic. Darnell Washington is like what we hoped Albert Okwuegbunam would be, but like for being as big as he is, I'm looking for somebody who moves earth attached to the line of scrimmage, and that's not
I'm
really his
looking at
game.
Darnell Washington and wishing it was Richard Seymour. I mean, I still think defense first.
Yeah, but that might be a reason he's playing tight end rather than the defensive line because the physicality questions. I don't know if he's much of a banger. Jeremy Sean saying, I know it's illogical, but I'm somewhat more optimistic with Gordon Cut. I mean, you have to know that this Broncos team was done with him and everything because they moved on from him. And Chase Edmonds has pretty much announced that skeptical he's coming back this season with the high ankle sprain. So they're saying to anybody, we'll bring in Marlon Mack, Divine Ezigbo off our practice squad. We'll bring in somebody else. Mike Boone, hopefully back week 14, I think. But Melvin Gordon, happy trails. I'm not going to wish him ill will, but it was time. It was time. You cannot do that.
Got about 40 seconds. I want to play Nathaniel Hackett's comments on waiving him. And this is in order. This wasn't at the same. I've spliced it together from two different parts of the press conference. One where he was asked directly, and then he was asked about the block field goal. What happened there? Just listen.
With Melvin, he's a guy he's a true pro. He's done a lot of good stuff here at the Denver Broncos and scored some touchdowns for us this year. And we thought it was best for the team. And we've moved on, and I wish him the best of luck. And I think it's great for him to have a fresh start. And but with the running backs, it'll be Marlon Mack. He'll be up. And then Divine Ezigbo, we're looking to see if we can get him up also, along with Latavius. I wish we weren't kicking a field goal in that situation on that one. But it's not just one person.
Ouch. For Nathaniel Hackett, that's firing a shot. For like super positive, everything is sunny in Seattle or wherever we are, Philadelphia and Denver. That's firing a shot. And we went back to yesterday, going back to yesterday, Nick, talking about the mental aspect of this game. This is 48 hours later. He's still pissed. Okay, that I wish we weren't kicking a field goal in that. He has it with a smile on his face. But, if that's anybody other than him, that's basically him shooting fireballs. So 48 hours later, he's still pissed. We talk about the mental aspect of this game. What do you think that special teams unit going on the field and the rest of that team is thinking? It's full of expletives, and it's like we shouldn't even be out here. We should have punched it in. Edmund F. and blank, Melvin Gordon again, and go out and a mistake happens. That's how it happens. So the way the momentum can change and affect, just negatively spread like I won't say the V word because who knows what YouTube's listening to here, but
like a toxic spill.
It's bad. Yeah. It's bad. So yes, they're done. So when you say optimistic, addition by subtraction, I agree with you.
Yeah. Yep. It's unfortunate, and we'll see what happens with Melvin Gordon going forward. We'll see if it would get picked up. Patrick Wiltsey come in saying, "Good morning, gents. Let us revel in this post-Gordon area." Thank you, Patrick. Unofficial sponsor of my day with Lion Coffee every morning. We appreciate you out there in Hawaii. We got Miguel coming in saying, "Good morning, fellas. Hope you all are having a great day." It's off to a good start. I got to say, it's off to a good start. We got Doug Freeland coming in saying, "Good morning, guys. Why are we not seeing Divine Ezigbo? I thought he looked pretty good in preseason. One game in preseason. It was the third preseason game with the least amount of starters on there. But you're going to see some Divine Ezigbo coming out. University of Nebraska. Hopefully they get their corn husks this weekend against the Hawkeyes. But it'll be fun to see.
And easily because he was fourth. I mean, that's why, Doug. I mean, he's fourth on the list. And a lot of times you won't even have three active. I think you should have three active because of injuries. You should always have three running backs active, but he's not ahead of Chase Evans, Latavius Murray, or Melvin Gordon, or Javonte Williams going in. So he's fourth. Well, now he's third. So he'll get a chance. Mack could get a chance. Actually, they're second and third because you lost two running backs this week. Apologies. Lawrence coming with the stars says, "What's up, guys? New day, fresh start. Time to go make today better." Absolutely. Little caffeinated bliss. That helps. Little Broncos for breakfast. Appreciate you being here, sir.
And we got Sting Guy saying, "Guys, last April I said before the draft, Russell Wilson will never succeed without a top running game. Said it then, and I'll say it for 2023. Use a first-round pick on a top running back and then draft for offensive line." I am not the biggest proponent of using a first-round pick on the running back unless you are drafting in the 20s, and that guy is special. I think Bijan Robinson from the University of Texas fits that billing, but this is like me saying I would take Saquon Barkley in the 20s. Okay, cool. He's not going to be there. Somebody's going to take him before that. I know the running back value has dropped a bit over the last decade, as it should. Teams are getting smart about the longevity of these guys. But I think that with the way the game is changed, thanks to Vic Fangio, with teams playing more nickel personnel than ever, lighter boxes than ever, and now more two high safety shells than ever, you need to have somebody who can punish teams for playing light boxes and force teams into cover 1 and cover 3 so that way you can hit those vertical explosive pass plays. This is emphatically true for Russell Wilson. Looking ahead his EPA per play based on the coverages this season, he's killing it against cover 1. He's doing very good against cover 3. He's actually doing pretty good against cover 6. Absolutely horrible against cover 2 and cover 4. Like negative EPA against cover 2, barely 0 for cover 4. How do you get that in different looks? I think it's a dynamic running game. And the Broncos have had, I think, one rush this season for over 15 yards. So they are so far from not even having an efficient running game, but a dynamic running game as well. If Bijan is there, I'm in for him. I don't, if you're picking 18 to 32, God, the 49ers looked good last night. 31, I guess, because the Dolphins don't have the first round pick. But more or less, I think it's more of a day two proposition.
Yeah, I've swung heavily towards your side of things with the running back, just watching the success that various running backs have had. I think, you can find guys that are dynamic that can carry the ball in later rounds. Just taking a look at who you're facing this week. Dante Foreman has basically, let me add it up here, 500 yards over the last 500 games, 400 yards over the last 5 games. He was basically retired 2 years ago. He was cut from the Falcons practice squad, was looking into working his trucking business, and decided to come back. Javonte Williams' teammate, Michael Carter, I think, is playing really well. Tyler Algier out of BYU, 5th-round draft pick, playing really well. So you definitely need help at the running back position. No doubt. No question about it. I'm just not sure first round. Build up that offensive line first. And the running game, build it and it will come. Build the offensive line. The running game will follow. I think you can get guys that can wildly improve your running game without having to go in the first round for it.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I think that Bijan Robinson is an exception from Texas because he is a special kind of play. I think I put him in that McCaffrey-Barkley tier of prospect. Yeah. And he's going to go.
The first time I watched him, I said he needs to quit football. And now that they're getting paid, I like I said, I've changed my mind on all that before. But you watch guys like Adrian Peterson or Playoff Lenny. What's Lenny's name? Number 7, LSU. Tampa Bay.
Leonard Fournette.
Thank you. Yep. Leonard Fournette's one of the best prospects I ever scouted. He's a 100-meter champion, 220 pounds with vision. He's not, I don't think he's as driven as a guy like Adrian Peterson, but I'm like, guys like that don't need to play college football. I mean, and take the wear and tear on their bodies. Now it doesn't bother me because they're getting paid. They can get up to 7 figures. Go play. Go play anywhere. It's basically semi-professional now, if not full-on professional. But the first time I saw Bijan Robinson, I was like, dude, go sit out and work out till you're 3 years out of high school and save the wear and tear on your body. He is really, really good.
Yeah. Montana Altitude coming in $5 saying, morning, guys. Is it better to wait till the offseason to get rid of Hackett? Will Tomlin be available? Quinn as a coach with Reich as the offensive coordinators? Thoughts? I don't think Reich is going to go anywhere besides as a head coach. I think that also something about the way the contract offsets that if they name him an offensive coordinator, if he signs an offensive coordinator, he doesn't get that extra money from the Colts. It's a reason that the Patriots, Bill Belichick, evil mastermind, they didn't name an offensive coordinator for Patricia, because if they did, then they'd pay the offset for the Detroit Lions. So because he wasn't named officially a coordinator, but rather an analyst, the Detroit Lions still have to pay him his full salary on top of what he's getting paid there. I mean, God, good for him, I guess. Yeah, God
bless you. Where are the loopholes?
But if Tomlin's available, I'm in. That's the only coach that I think could feasibly be available that I'd be like, first round pick, by God, go away. I don't care. Tomlin, he's a culture setter, a proven guy for a number of years. Is it better to wait till the offseason to get rid of Hackett? I think the only reason you don't get rid of Hackett is because you don't want even more chaos going on there right now in the locker room and in the game planning and everything. But I guess there are questions. I mean, if Ejiro Evero is really considered one of the top candidates this offseason and you don't have any questions there, then I guess you keep Hackett. But if you even have the slightest inkling of what would Evero be like as your head coach next year, if you have any interest in bringing him back, then I think you do need to give him a role. And a loss in Carolina this week, man, it would have to be it. If it's an ugly loss again, I don't think you can do it. Bring Hackett back.
We said that at least twice now. We
true.
said London, they got the win. We said Raiders, they didn't get the win. To Josh McDaniels at home, Hackett's still here.
Yeah.
So, but again, like I said, if you're the last two and you want to evaluate how someone handles game day preparations or whatnot within house, okay. But we'll see. We'll see. I think I said something like that. And the next day, the guy was cut, fired, or something. Like, who was it? It was trade. It was Bradley Chubb. I'm like, I just don't see anybody paying that much money. And then I get off and read. I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening. As soon as I get off the show, just got done saying, I'm like, rewind. Let me rephrase here. Let me change my mind on that one. GLP coming in on YouTube, coming in yellow. He says, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good morning to you, my friend. Hope things are going well. And as always, we thank you for the support.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Gary. Hope you're doing well. Ryan Slavik's in here saying we need to let Kareem Jackson go and let Stearns play in the spot next year alongside Stearns. Or next Simmons. Stearns is way too talented to be on the bench. I think that's very, very, very probable. I think the Broncos next year, we talked about it a little bit earlier with how this team is set up, maybe going cornerback in the draft. But I think the Broncos are going to go cheap and young on the defensive side of the ball and invest resources on the offensive side. So what is cheap and young? Baron Browning, one of your starters next year, getting paid late third-round pick money. That's cheap for an edge rusher. The cornerback position, I wouldn't be shocked at all if it's Damari Mathis, Kwan Williams, and Patrick Surtain, all guys that are not making big money, moving on from Ronald Darby. Maybe you can do something where you eat a little bit of the contract and trade him. I'm not sure how that would work with his injury, but you can save, 10 million, 12 million moving on from Darby. That's, you probably consider that. I mean, that's two interior offensive line starters there. Where you could spend that money. And then also Caden Stearns probably starting at safety. That's 3 Peyton draft picks in the last 2 draft cycles, not on first-round contracts that could be filling major roles next season. That could free up some cash and resources to go attack the offensive line, wide receiver, tight end too, et cetera, et cetera.
So, Nick, going back to just real quick, we can put a bow on the running back conversation. The top paid running backs right now, and they were probably high round picks. That's why they're well paid and young. Saquon Barkley, 25. Kareem Hunt, 27 years old. Rashad Penny, 26. Jamal Williams, 27. Josh Jacobs, 24. And then those are the top 5 highest paid pending free agents coming in, and they're all relatively young out there. So interesting.
That's something too.
I'd rather spend a little money short term than use a high pick for a guy I could have for 6 years.
See, I look at it a little bit differently. If it's I think that slotted draft pick at the end of the first round is not super expensive. Mm-hmm. And also the franchise tag, because the running backs aren't getting paid second big contracts, is also not expensive. So if I can get a running back for their best 6 years and then move on from them, I think I would be okay with that if that running back is special. And again,
I just think if I could get 6 years of a wide receiver or a corner or an edge instead of trying to get one on free agency that's going to be playing. I mean, I could theoretically have the best one of those players in the NFL, or a top 5, a top 10 guy for 4 years of his career. Mm-hmm. If I could do that, that's $80 million.
Yeah.
As opposed to a running back where, okay, maybe I go spend 7 on one of these guys that's a free agent for 1 season, for 2 seasons. And I keep doing that. And I just put $7 million. I mean, think about it. You're putting $4 million. That's what you were paying Melvin Gordon. Mm-hmm. You didn't quite get what you were expecting, but that's the money you were putting. You spent 5.5 on Mike Boone. Yeah. Okay. So you're putting that money out there anyway. Put it into one guy, and then, a proven guy who still has some tread on the tire, and then backfill cheap. I don't mind that. There's definitely more than one way to skin a cat, and we got another year to roster build here.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for me, it just comes down to Bijan, I think, is a special player. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't say that about many running backs, but I do think that he's instant offense. Like I think if you put him in with this offensive line, you probably go from the worst offense in the NFL to, in the top 10, just because of how ineffective the Broncos are rushing the football right now, not explosive at all, probably facing some of the lightest boxes in the NFL, and also the ineffectivity from the running backs in the pass game. Bijan solves all of that. And the only quick pass game that we've seen from Russell Wilson this year that's been effective has been the running back dump off. You dramatically change what that looks like with somebody like that. I agree with you overall, Scott, but I think that it just comes down. It's like talking about, it's the Kyle Pitts conversation. Why the hell, Blake, EPA, look what these tight ends are getting paid. Kyle Pitts is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jeremy Sean saying, if Russ doesn't get fixed, who cares who else we draft? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Jeremy's had it. The optimism and everything is gone. If Russ isn't again, true. But when we're talking about who else you can get, you're stuck with Russ. Russ is the fixed variable, and unfortunately, like we say about data and formulas and all of those things, garbage in equals garbage out. So you got to hope that you don't have garbage on this side of the equation, because you're going to end up equaling, garbage. Yep. So you have to get something out of Russ. And again, Russell Wilson showed he can still play in this game. He can still play quarterback. He's 12 of 15, to start on this team. He's not as bad as he has shown in his worst moments. He might not ever be as good as he's been at his best, but the bottom of Russell Wilson this year that's the floor. That's not the new baseline. He's better than this.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to get back to Patriot Text. I see Deanna with the 50s going to get on a plane here.
That's where I was on my timeline, coming to say hi to Deanna.
Yeah, says go after offensive line. I agree. They need to do that in free agency with at least 2 offensive linemen, and then also one of their first 3 picks in the draft. That needs to be number 1. Hackett needs to go. Love MHH for life. Off to catch a plane. Happy Thanksgiving. MHH, go Broncos. And let's get back to thank you, Deanna.
Travel safe, Deanna. Appreciate all the support you've thrown in this week. Huge. We're going to update. We haven't done it in a while. We're going to update Super Chat standings. Deanna's not right at the top. She's going to be close.
Yeah.
So just a huge benefactor to this show as of late, for sure.
And we got Patriot Text double dipping here, saying, Scott, I think the Broncos need a new strength and conditioning coach. We need to get players with no heart, Sutton, off the team, is what he meant here. He has another super chat clarifying that and says, Peyton's reach for Russ has set the franchise back for years. His position is tenuous. And there's the meant to cut Sutton. I don't think you're cutting Sutton just because the way the contract sets up.
I like you dropping the INGs on there. Cutting Sutton. You sound like a good Southerner.
Yeah, that's the Iowa drawl. Actually, I have family from the state of Missouri. That's the ones that go Warshup, all that good stuff. You know what they call corn out there in Missouri?
No,
roasted ears. Because the different types of corn, roasted ears.
Corn's just easier to say.
It is, corn. But there's different types of corn because you have the feed corn and you have the sweet corn. So roasted ears. Anyway, getting here. Thank you so much talking about it. I don't think you're going to move on from Sutton, just because you are already going to be dealing from such a deficit. Also, the reality is the interest surrounding the Broncos putting Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler on the trade block doesn't just go away this offseason. So I think if anybody's going to be moved on, it's probably KJ Hamler or Jerry Jeudy. Now, those 2 guys getting injured probably puts that in flux a bit. But definitely, I think you probably have Sutton here one more year. The way his contract sets up to, if he struggles again next season, he's much easier to move on from. So probably one more year to get it right with him. And I wouldn't be selling low right now. He's made some great plays. I don't know. I don't think I can show an NFL highlight on here without us getting dinged. But there was a quick slant, I think, on the Broncos' second drive in this last game where I said, "Oh, bad throw from Russ there," and I got pooped on by Broncos country. Reached out to some defensive backs and wide receivers that had played in the league. They said, no, that's a horrible throw from Russell Wilson. Sutton ran a fine route there. Sutton had to leave his feet on a slant that was from 3rd and 7 to make a diving effort on the ball when he had 2 yards of separation. Put it in his breadbasket.
That should hit you face mask.
Perfect. He had to leave his feet
a little bit out in front. That's a pretty easy throw. I don't think we got this one coming in from Lawrence. What should we do about wide receivers? A lot of rookies seem better. Competition for sure. You bringing in some guys. You may have a little bit more addition by subtraction in the offseason. I'm not convinced Jerry Jeudy is going to be a Denver Bronco next year. KJ Hamler could be available. And then we still don't know how well Tim Patrick comes back. They miss his leadership is, I think that's fairly evident. But maybe nothing. Again, if you bring those guys back, whoever comes in, whether it be Nathaniel Hackett or someone else, may say, I want to give these guys a shot during OTAs, whatnot. And speaking of which, going back to Melvin Gordon's been a great pro. I don't agree that you're a great pro if you're not showing up for OTAs. That's part of being a great pro, is displaying leadership, especially as a veteran guy. I think that is a ding. Anyway, whoever's coming in may say, I want to see these guys before we make any decisions first. But yeah, you're going to bring in competition at wide receiver without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Michael knew how he'd get his name up here. Go Hawkeyes. Yeah, absolutely. We're battling for the Big Ten championship. It's going to be great this week. Also, we got our guy Naj coming in with the super. God, 1999 Naj, flashing orange on here. Said, we've been sellers at midway point 4 out of 5 years. That reinforces a loser's culture. Bottom line, star players have to make clutch plays in game. Crosby, Adams did. Russ, Simmons, Draymond didn't. To me, it's that simple. Your guys do have to step up and make plays, and theirs did and we didn't. We also made many unforced errors. I mean, you talk about the fumble, the missed kick, not finishing on drives. Russell Wilson, it's not even making big plays. It's not making the stupid plays. The fumble, Russell Wilson throwing the ball away on third down, not eating 40 seconds off the clock. Just some of the play calls even. I mean, it is a loser's culture, and their team did better than ours, and hat tip to them. This is a bad Broncos team, and they got a lot to figure out. But I agree with you more or less, Naj.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in, Naj. You've been getting up early morning and hitting us up in the morning, and thank you for being here. And you do. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a loser's culture, but you also don't want to get nothing back. I mean, you're losing Bradley Chubb, and you had a chance to get a first-round draft pick. You got a second and third for Von Miller, and you got a chance to rebuild under a new coaching staff and bring in guys that are going to buy in with a new general manager and whatnot. So I get it. The 2 years that I've been doing this, I absolutely agree with the moves that have been made at the trading deadline. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you, Naj. Adam says, injured guys will come back. Javonte might not be the same, but the defense is great. The only problem to be talked about is quarterback. One of the reasons we're not hitting on the quarterback is because there's no flexibility there. It's with the guaranteed contract, the dead cap money, we can talk about, okay, do we move Courtland Sutton? You could even say I could get 3 first-round picks for Pat Surtain. I mean, he's movable. That's unheard of. We'd never do that, but that's actually an option. With Russell Wilson's contract, he's a Denver Bronco until 2025. That's done. So do you want to get a rookie and bench it and you mothball him for 2 more years, for 2 more seasons, 23, 24? Yeah, I think 2 more seasons. What do we say? Or is it 3.5? 23, 24, and then you've got a chance in 2025? Or you've got –
No, you're right.
Yeah. So 2 more years, there's no flexibility there. So when we're talking about what to do with these picks, what to do in free agency, all of these other things, quarterback's off the table. So I'm sorry.
It's not necessarily
off into it, but
yeah.
Russell Wilson's a Denver Bronco, y'all.
I don't think it's necessarily off the table, but I think a premium investment is off the table. This is a deep quarterback class, luckily.
Sure. I mean, I could get a guy later,
yes.
and even if you wanted to. But the thing is Russell Wilson isn't going anywhere.
No. Nope. The earliest you make a substantial investment in the quarterback is the 2024 draft. This year, I think you do need to take one day 2 or day 3, just because Brett Rippon has shown to not be a quality backup. Russell Wilson's getting older and missing games. And I think that if you had a better backup in this game, Russell Wilson probably would have sat out more games than he did. And also if you had a stronger leadership voice in the locker room being like, nope, you need to sit because your hamstring and your lat and blah, blah, blah are injured. But I do think that you do need to make a lottery ticket investment in this draft. And worst case, it becomes a cost-controlled backup developmental quarterback for 3-4 seasons. Mm-hmm. And that gives you options beyond Brett Rippon. But then it's 2024, where if you're picking in the top 10, we're going to be talking quarterbacks. So
yeah,
that's the way
you should bring in a legitimate backup who can push for sure. Absolutely. And if it gets so bad, maybe you start him. But Russell Wilson and his salary is going to be on this team.
Yeah,
it's going to be counting. Whether you practice squad him, like I said, you can mothball him, but he's going to be part of this team. And the reason why, as David comes in, is there any free agent you guys think could help out this offseason? There's lots. That's a whole other show. We just went through some running backs a little while ago. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, guys in their 20s that could be there at running back for sure. If Javonte Williams comes back, we'll see. But the interior line can be addressed in free agency for cheap. You can get improvements at guard and center. Also, any chance we do Wilson for Rodgers? None. Zero, zip, none. We just talked all the reasons why Russell Wilson is going to be a Denver Bronco for at least the next 2+ seasons. Aaron Rodgers, dead cap next year, is $100 million. He ain't going anywhere. His dead cap number next year for 2023 is $100 million. So if they move on from Aaron Rodgers, they cut Aaron Rodgers, they have $100 million of salary to play with, and they lose $100 million in dead cap money. So zero chance that happens.
It's unfortunate, but it's where we are. And this upcoming cycle is going to be salvaging the Russell Wilson contract and getting him back on the path, because this year's obviously been terrible. What does that look like? I think probably investing heavy into the run game infrastructure and making him be not a high volume quarterback from a passing standpoint, but a explosive down the field, efficient quarterback. So I'd rather have him throw the ball 20, 25 times a game and have that average depth of target be like top 5 in the league. And the run game itself is functioning as that quick pass game. And a point I was going to make earlier is maybe one benefit of moving on from Melvin Gordon and being so bad at the running back position is that we are going to have to figure out the rest of the season, how can we get Russell Wilson better in the quick pass game? What concepts work? Because the way your roster is set up right now, you are the least efficient, least explosive running game, maybe in the NFL, because of how bad the offensive line is as well. We saw it this last game. Russell Wilson was taking the checkdowns. Now, granted, I don't know if you've seen the heat map yet or the spray chart yet, Scott, but it's like a classic Russell Wilson where everything is short outside the numbers and there's like just nothing over the middle of the field. But God damn it. But things you can work on from the season, because your running back room is going to be bad regardless. And then you can pivot from there going forward. But this is going to be a rough product the rest of the season, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. It's not just Russell Wilson being bad. It's not just Hackett too. It's just, the injuries are unbelievable. How many starters do you still have out there from week 1? 3?
I said that before. If we are doing this in July, going through the schedule and saying, okay, who is your projected starting 11 for the Denver Broncos? I think we came up with 4, and that is probably stopped now. It was Sutton,
Wilson,
Miners,
Reisner,
and Reisner. There were 4.
But Miners missed 6 games too.
Right now.
Yeah,
as
I
go
now.
out there right now, that's it. 4 of 11. That's crazy. David, because I have something else I wanted to hit with Adam on Facebook. He says, also want to ask if you guys see us maybe going after Arch Manning in 4 years. You need, if Arch Manning becomes Arch Manning that he's projected to be, and it does happen. I did this for a long time and watched guys like Trevor Lawrence, who was pegged in 9th grade as the next big thing, be the number 1 overall pick. Matthew Stafford was the number 1 quarterback. It happens. You're going to need a number 1 overall pick to get Arch Manning. So do you go after him? It's not like free agency or recruiting. Do you have a number 1 overall pick? And Adam says, I understand if we're talking about moves and investment and team building and stuff. I just meant if we're talking about who to blame this year. We were asked this yesterday, Adam, where do you put the percentage of blame? And there were only 4 categories that we came up with. Nick, you remember?
Injuries,
coaching,
quarterback,
Peyton, offensive line.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Quarterback. And how many did I say 5? So it was injuries, coaching and administration for me. Yeah. I lumped those into one, with team building and whatnot. Coaching and administration, injuries, and offensive line. And we had, depending on where we were, our sliding scale of percentages, I think I had 25% Russ, 25% injuries. It was fairly even. There's plenty to go around, but there were only 4 of them here, Adam. So we're with you on this. We're just, we don't hit on it, every time. But if you ever want to ask, hey, who do you think? Why is this? What do you guys think? Hit us up. You'll get an answer, and it's not going to change for the most part.
Yeah. And I saw a good question in here from somebody. asking here we go. Lou, getting us on track. I think this is an interesting one. With the season already done for his season goals, what does success look like over the final 7 games? Breaking the KC streak would be great, but not being embarrassed by their backups is more realistic. What does it look like to have a successful last 7 games? I think putting together a 3-4 record out of these last 7 games and hopefully kicking yourself out of the top 5, top 10 conversation in the draft for the Seahawks draft pick right now, which sits at 5 overall, would be a success. Also, I think just like starting to develop an identity and getting more efficiency from Russell Wilson. Right now, he doesn't look comfortable at all. He looks beaten pretty bad now. Some of that's probably, a lot of that's probably his own doing, but just getting a more confident Russ. We need to have some momentum built in and identity building. The other part, I think, is young players on rookie contracts that could be starters next season continue to play well or even take a step forward. So that way you have more flexibility and options going forward. I've already talked about some of them, but think about who George Payton's drafted in the last 2 draft classes. Those guys stepping up and becoming major contributors. So we're talking Baron Browning. We're talking Quinn Miners. We're talking Caden Stearns. We're talking Damari Mathis. We're talking, probably a few, Greg Dulcich. We're talking Nick Bonito. Those guys stepping up and making plays where that way you can lean on them next season. So that way you aren't as likely or feeling forced to have to make investments to double up on those positions. You want to have answers on the roster for 2023. So that way you can invest in the offensive line, bring in a running back, et cetera, et cetera. And those young guys stepping up is a big part of that equation.
And short answer for me is offensive competency. You want to see, the 16 points every game is ridiculous. How many times have you broken 20 twice? So some offensive competency for a team that was a lot of your investment went into the offensive side of the ball in the offseason. That's a start. That's a start. But Nick went into a much deeper. I'm not gonna follow up on that. Travis coming in says, "Sorry, I haven't been so busy and haven't been able to watch a game since first game of the season." Really, not even on replay. But we're glad you're here with us, Travis.
Yep. And before we get on out of here, Robbie Red, what's the position the Broncos draft first round in the 2023 draft? Ideally, it's offensive tackle. Scott and I will say that all offseason, not only because you need long-term answers at right tackle, but the way Garrett Bowles' contract sets up, he's a conversation this offseason. I'm going to let you guys in a little secret. He was not playing good this season. He was, especially for his contract. So you probably are going to bring him back next year just because you're already going to have to overturn so much of the offensive line and the contract becomes even more palatable to move on from after next year. Maybe you approach him with a restructure. Offensive tackle is the most likely the most ideal spot. After that, and it also depends on where you're picking. Like if the San Francisco 49ers go on a run at 31, then pretty much you just got to be like Michael here saying BPA. But offensive tackle number 1, wide receiver probably number 2, offensive weapon honestly number 3 for me, and then just position of value defensive side of the ball, cornerback, maybe even an edge rusher, because I don't think Nick Bonito can ever be a base package defensive edge rusher. Broncos obviously were missing a little bit of size and strength at the edge spot against the Raiders. I think that's going to be an issue this week against the 49ers as well. So maybe edge, and then of course cornerback as well.
So let's say you're around 23, 24. Just looking back at last year again, because what you don't want to do is reach. Was Cole Strange a reach at 29? Hey, we needed a center. Okay, well that was a reach. Tyler Smith, offensive lineman, Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, I can live with that.
Tyler Smith has been amazing. Tyler Smith has been incredible for the Cowboys. I just want to throw that out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. But would you have been okay with Jermaine Johnson at outside linebacker or Devin Lloyd at linebacker? Probably. George Karlaftis has been hot and cold in those areas, but you can and should be able to get a right tackle if you grade one. But again, it's don't reach. Just don't reach for a need. You can find Garrett Bowles comes back left tackle. Okay. He may not be all pro, but you're solid at left tackle. I can find a right tackle farther down the board. I can. Mm-hmm. So let's fill if there's a tackle I love there, if an offensive lineman I love there, it's easy. That card should last about 2 seconds. When Denver Broncos are now the Denver Broncos pick is in. It should be about that long.
And a lot of it will depend on what happens in free agency too. Like, let's say the Broncos go out and pay Elton Jenkins a top 5 guard contract in football. Well, then you're probably not spending money on or using a first-round draft pick on that interior offensive lineman from Florida, whose name is escaping me right now, who a lot of people really love because you like what Quinn Miners brings, and you just paid big money for Elton Jenkins. So need to see how that all sets up. I think regardless, though, with how this team sets up, offensive tackle is going to be possible because of how Garrett Bowles' contract sets up. I'm honestly of the opinion, too, that you bring back Cam Fleming. He's been solid this season. I actually talked with somebody out there. He had a bad game against Max Crosby. I talked to somebody in Dove Valley, and they said, what do you think about Cam Fleming? He's like, listen, he's 70% out there. We credit him for even going out there in that game because it was such a tough matchup. So I think Cam Fleming could be part of the equation as well, coming back.
Not a bad option. He's not overly expensive. He's already there.
Competent.
So, you don't have to pay him. You shouldn't have to pay him a premium to get him to re-sign.
Yeah. Yep. And Achy Dragon saying the same injured Elton Jenkins. He'd have to pass a physical, but when he's healthy, he's great. And he's only had one injury that I'm aware of.
I want independent doctors. I don't want these Denver Broncos doctors giving him a physical.
Turn and cough. Well, guys, on that note, we got to get out of here. We appreciate you guys so much. As I said earlier, we are not going to be here Thursday. Scott and I are going to spend some time with our family on Thanksgiving. Maybe family and friends. And watching some football as well, of course. But we appreciate the heck out of you guys. It's been a rough season, no doubt. And there's going to be a lot of questions and head scratching throughout the entire offseason. But one day it'll get better. One day, maybe it'll be after Patrick Mahomes retires and that sun sets. But one day. Thank you so much.
Jeremy says, before we get out of here, I want to say thank you for the Broncos for Breakfast community. A lot of good people here, and I'm thankful for that. It makes my life more fun. Hey, you're part of it. You're a big part of this community, Jeremy, and we are glad you are here. So thank you so much. I should see everybody before Thanksgiving. In fact, I'll probably see you on Thanksgiving. I don't know if it was announced, but I think it's going to be me and Zach on Thanksgiving doing some post-Turkey Day football on Thanksgiving evening. So look forward to seeing everybody there. And if I don't see you then, if you're in the morning or overseas, Ethan's not here today. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Yeah. Enjoy World Cup soccer. Enjoy USA England, and go Broncos. And make sure you're following Scott. I was ready to wrap up there. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at BFB_pod, and of course at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And as the ticker says underneath there, please subscribe, like, and share. Hit that like button on the way out. You guys have a great one. We're going to be excited to see you next time. But until then, make sure you're choosing compassion and kindness, and go Broncos.